What's up guys, Gypsy back here today bringing you my week 1 match of the NPL. It is finally here and today we're going up against my friend RizzyPow. If you guys have missed the team builder for this match, I definitely recommend you go and check it out. I'll be leaving it in the description below. It'll go a bit further into depth on why I brought the mons I did and why I chose to run the sets I ran on these mons. If you guys want to get into my crazy head, then I recommend you go and check it out. But if not, that's totally fine. We'll be jumping into the battle soon enough. And I'll also be leaving Riz's link in the description. I definitely recommend you guys go and check him out too, because he's a really nice guy. From the little that I know about him, I've only got to know him a little bit recently since joining the NPL, but he seems like a really cool guy, and his content on his channel is it's really good. He's a really strong player, in my opinion, and he's involved in other really highly competitive leagues. So yeah, definitely go and check him out, guys. But just giving a quick rundown of the team that I'm bringing today. First up, we have Megapincer, and Megapincer's running. He's running substitute with return, EQ, and quick attack. Basically, sub is here to set up a sub on predicted switch outs. It also allows me to win sort of sucker punch mind games versus the bishop. But Pincer's main job here is to clean up once things have been weakened on his team. Once the anti's whittled down to a point where EQ can take it out. Next up we have Mew. Mew's main role here is to defog hazards away for Scizor, for my Megapincer, my mistake, wrong bug, and also threaten the Bishop with the Aura Sphere. I'm running the Cobber Berry so I can eat a knockoff or a sucker punch from a Bishop. I can kill him if he's non-choppable, and if he's choppable, he's weak as fuck, so that's all good. Next up we have Defensive Embor. Basically here to check, to be a nice die-hard check to the Bishop, as well as the Scolipede and the Mamoswine, depending on the coverage of Scolipede. If it's Aquatail, if it SDs in Aquatail, then we're going to have an issue, but I do have the Shukaberry on Embor to pretty comfortably take an EQ, even from a +2 Scolipede, so that's pretty nice. And next up we have Alamamola, and Alamamola is fully defensive this week. It's a nice switch into his physical attackers like like the Mamoswine, the aforementioned Scolipede and Bishop. It can take a Hurricane from Torn if it needs to. And basically it's just here to pass wishes to my bulkier mons like Embor and Stunfisk, even Mew, and knock off items, just be a general nuisance and a nice kind of defensive switch in for me. Next up we have Stunfisk, whose role in this team is basically to switch into Jolteon and Tornadus. It can punish U-turn from Tornadus in the form of a static power, and it can eat up Volt switches and hidden power ices from Jolteon all day, along with wish support from Alamamola. It's a pretty nice little core I've got going here, and it also sets rocks, which looking at his team are going to be pretty important. Potentially breaking sashes on Mamoswine, or even a sash like Bishop, for example. And whittling down Scolipede and Tornadus, which is going to be really nice for me. And lastly we have Weavile, who is amazing this match. As you can see, it just deals with the Tornadus, barring something like a Resist Berry. It does big damage to Mamoswine with a low kick, and it can Merc Bishop with a low kick too. And Ice Shard is pretty nice with priority during this match. So as you can see, Riz has brought kind of a roughly similar team to what I predicted in my team builder. He has the Bishop and the Scolipede, which form a nice offensive core versus my whole team. The Mamoswine really threatens a lot of my team as well, although Alamamola is a pretty nice hard counter to it, unless it's something like Specs Freeze Dry, but that's pretty crazy. I don't think Riz would bring that week 1, but it's possible. And then you can see he's got the Diancie there as a nice kind of Megapincer check, as well as a nice Weavile check to some extent. Barring like a Metal Claw, an SD Metal Claw set from like Weaver. And then you can see he's got the Torn and the Jolteon, so those two guys get nice momentum around my team if Stunfisk is taken out, and both kind of revenge kill Megapincer nicely. So yeah, that was a really nice bring on his part, and it's shaping up to be a really nice match, a really exciting first match, so I will jump into it and see what happens. Just quickly before I jump into the match, thinking about lead matchup, Weavile seemed to lead pretty nicely versus his team. If you let off with something like Mamoswine, then a low kick, a low kick could potentially threaten him out unless he was Sash. But obviously I'd scout for that first, and I wouldn't stay with Weavile, but I thought as though Weavile overall was the best. You know, if he wanted to lead off with Diancie, that would be pretty unfortunate. That would force me to switch out because, you know, no variant of Weavile's killing a defensive Diancie. And he could have led with Diancie to set up rocks, but I felt as though he'd probably lead with Taunt, possibly Jolteon, but most likely Taunt, just to be able to U-turn out on my potential lead and switch into an appropriate Mon on his team that could handle my lead, or even set up rocks on my lead. So I choose to lead off with Weavile turn 1, and that pays off for me because he leads with Taunt. And right here, you know, you'd think it was the easiest icicle crash of my life, but I know Riz is a good player, and it's more than likely he's prepared some way to deal with my Weavile for his Taunt, because Weavile is such a problem for Taunt. It can OHKO with Ice Punch, doesn't even need to run Icicle Crash. You know, the standard Taunt, even like really like max HP Taunt, is just destroyed by Icicle attacks from like a Life Orb Weavile. So turn 1, he's either going to stay in with Taunt if he's Scarf or Yachi Berry, or he's going to switch out. So I just take this opportunity to switch out to my Stunfisk, who is a really nice switch into the Taunt, eating up anything he wants to go for, as he stays in Heat Waves. Now this reveals to me the fact that he went for Heat Wave kind of makes me think that he is Yachi Berry, because Heat Wave does not kill Weavile from full, because Weavile actually has fairly good split F, and if Tornadus, you know, had stayed in and tried to Heat Wave me, I could have just killed him that turn with a Ice Punch. So he was more than likely Yachi Berry, as he would have been able to eat an Ice Punch, and while not killing me, dealt significant damage to me. So yeah, this is pretty nice for me. I can just fire off a Toxic, because if he is AV, Toxic is going to be really nice to wear him down, and if he wants to switch out to something like the Mamoswine on a Discharge or a T-Bolt, I can get that Toxic off, or if you wanted to go to the Jolteon, for example. So that is pretty nice for me. I land the Toxic, as he actually misses his, which is kind of unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate in the sense that he does want to Toxic my Stunfisk, because it is such a nuisance to his Jolteon and his Taunt, so he will stay in next turn and Toxic it. And I need to take this opportunity to go for a Discharge right here, just kind of gauging the damage on the Taunt. He's already revealed that he's not AV because he did go for the Toxic right there, so that Discharge damage plus the Toxic damage is really nice for me. It puts me in a situation where I know he's going to switch out next turn. I know he's going to want to preserve health on his Taunt. He's Toxic now, so he doesn't risk anything by going for a U-turn, as he's not going to be potentially parried by Static from Stunfisk. So I actually predict him to U-turn out here, and I switch out into my Alamomola because I am running the Rocky Helmet on Alamomola, and I will put him at a really low amount of health. Now, the great thing about this is he's at 3% right now, and basically if I set up rocks during the match before the Taunt can switch back in, every time the Taunt switches in, he will be taking rocks damage as well as at least one round of toxic damage, which actually does 33%, the same as his Regenerator, keeping him at that 3% amount of health, as he has no way to get rid of hazards unless he forces me to defog my own rocks away. You know, unless he tries to hazard stack on my side of the field and I'm forced to defog, his Taunt will be constantly weakened. It is likely he will U-turn out, as U-turning gives him momentum versus hard switching, and I can just use my Rocky Helmet on my Alamomola to kill him, because as I said, he will be constantly at that 3% health due to the Stealth Rocks and the toxic damage whittling him down. So getting up Stealth Rocks is kind of a priority for me at this point, because the Taunt is really annoying. Toxic is really annoying for my fatter mons like Mew and Alamomola, and I'd rather get the Taunt out of the way sooner rather than later. So he makes the U-turn play out to his Jolteon right here, and I'm obviously not going to stay in without my Alamomola. I'm going to switch out to my Stunfisk, as he just takes this opportunity to go for the sub. Now this was interesting. He shows sub leftovers, and I'm immediately thinking, you know, this is a lot more threatening than the spec set, because the sub allows him to kind of 1v1 my Stunfisk in conjunction with the toxic damage, with the hidden power ice, as it is whittling me down and I'm not carrying rest. So that's kind of okay for me at this point. I just take this opportunity to set up my Stealth Rocks, which, as I said, will prevent the Taunt from just coming in and spamming Regenerator recovery. So that is really nice for me there. However, I'm in a sticky situation with this Jolteon, as it can kind of freely just stay in and hidden power ice me. He gets a crit there, which is kind of annoying, but you know, that it still doesn't do too much. But yeah, it does put me at quite a low amount of health, and you'll see later on in the match that kind of may have mattered. But that's alright. So at this point I just go out to my Mew knowing I can take T-Bolts and hidden Power Ices from this Jolteon. If he does want to stay in, and he doesn't know if I'm a setup Mew, so at this point, because he'd shown sub and lefties, I figured Baton Pass was a pretty obvious play on his behalf. Sorry. Maybe Baton Passing, expecting like a Mew versus Jolteon matchup. Baton Pass was really nice as you know, that gives him a pretty free switch into one of his like sweepers like Scolipede or Bishop, because those two behind his sub instantly become a lot more intimidating to my team. And if I predict wrong and go for the wrong coverage move, then I'm going to be in a really tough spot. You know, if he is like a setup Bishop or a setup Scolipede. But I predict the Baton Pass here and just fire off an Aura Sphere because this is the most obvious Bishop switching of my life. So I do break the sub here, and now we're in a situation where if Bishop is Triple Berry, then his Dark type attacks will be doing no damage. In conjunction with the fact that I am Colbur Berry Mew. If he's Scarf, his Dark type attacks will be doing no damage. If he's Life Orb, I'll be outspeeding, and his Sucker Punch will be doing no damage because I am Colbur. And as I've shown the Aura Sphere, he doesn't want to stay in because Aura Sphere will kill, as I said. So he just makes the play, he switches out to Scolipede right here, which is kind of nice for me. He takes Stealth Rock damage, which is pretty important. As you'll see later on in the match, as I just do the safe Aura Sphere right here. And at this point in the match, I figured that, you know, while I could stand and go for the Psychic, which I am carrying, his Scolipede is going to do one of two things. It's either going to sub, if it is a fast Scolipede, it's going to protect if it's carrying Protect, or it's going to Mega Horn, if it is like max speed Adamant with Life Orb, which could potentially take my Mew out, depending on rolls. So, you know, his best play in my opinion is to scout for the Psychic or potentially sub for the Willow if he's like a more defensive set. So I just take this opportunity to switch out to my Elemental, not wanting to take a like max attack Life Orb Mega Horn, as he just protects. And now he stays in here and protects again as I go for the knockoff, just kind of wanting to scout my moveset, I guess. Maybe if I wanted to make a double out there, predicting a switch out, you know, staying with Scolipede. As now he just goes out to Diancie on my second knockoff. I knock off his lefties, which is pretty nice for me. You know, it's going to make Diancie a lot easier to wear down without that constant recovery each turn. As he just fires off the Toxic here, I predict this and go out into Mew. I figured Diancie would either be running like Stealth Rocks or Toxic. You know, Toxic, really nice versus my Elemental. You know, if it does want to switch in versus my Elemental, it can just get that Toxic off. And while I don't really mind about Toxic, I did want to wear this Diancie down with Toxic. I don't really care about my mons getting Toxic because at this point, with their own recovery, it's not too much of a big deal. I'm not going to be, you know, staying in for ages with the likes of Mew and Elemental. But getting the Diancie Toxic in return is a trade-off I'm willing to make. So I just switch out to my Elemental here, and I try and get a bit cheeky. I try and pass a Wish off to my Stunfisk, as he just sets up the Stealth Rocks, which is nice for him because Mew naturally outspeeds Diancie, and if I were just to continue defogging, he could stay in and Stealth Rock until he went down to Poison, ensuring his Rock stayed up. So I Wish up here, hoping to pass it to my Stunfisk, and here's where the crit kind of mattered. Unless he was like a max special attack Diancie, which I highly doubt considering defensive investment is needed to ensure Pinsir cannot 2-hit KO with Earthquake, if I'm Jolly. So, you know, I'm assuming he was physically defensive, but because I am Spit F Stunfisk, this Moonblast does take me out. I think it was a roll. At 26%, I had a chance to live, so that's okay. You know, the crit may have mattered there, but it is what it is. So at this point, Weavile can just come in and click Ice Punch, which is pretty nice. Ice Punch takes out the Diancie, and Weavile gets its first kill of the season. Now in comes Bishop, and this Bishop is screaming Choice Scarf. Choice Scarf makes sense for more reason than Shuffle does. Choice Scarf allows Bishop to be a fairly good revenge killer to Mega Pinsir. If it is set up, his quick attack will not do much because Bishop is, you know, naturally pretty bulky on the physical side. So, you know, I was fearing a Scarf Stone Edge or a Scarf Iron Head at this point. More likely to be a Scarf Iron Head. You know, just trying to not wanting to risk the miss right here. So I just take this opportunity to switch out to my Ember, which is my dedicated switch into this Bishop, walling it all day. as Stone Edge only does 24%. He switches out here, not wanting to lose his bishop, and just sacks off his Taunt. And that is really nice to me. So Taunt's out of the picture, although Stealth Rocks were really kind of hindering it from being any sort of real threat versus my team. And here is where the Shukaberry comes through. He EQs, that's a Life Orb Mamu. I eat up that EQ and just take him out with a low kick. So that's nice for me. Embor's practically dead at this point, but it does prevent the Scolipede from setting up a sub or SDing on me, as I can just stand in Flare Blitz. So he just takes me out with the Rock Slide. And the fact that he's revealed Rock Slide, as well as the fact that he hasn't shown Black Sludge or Life Orb, leads me to strongly believe that he is a Cobra Berry Scolipede. So while I could have gone into Mega Pinsir there and just quick attacked, it was not the right play, as Jolly Quick Attack was a roll from that range. I'd need a very, very high roll, and I wasn't willing to take that risk at this point, as Pinsir is very important for getting chip damage off on the Jolteon, or cleaning it up, as you'll see later on in the match. So it was just more worth it to stay in with Alomomola. I could potentially knock off the Cobra Berry if he decided to stay in. And if he didn't, then I could potentially knock off the Jolteon. But this is a really tough situation for me, actually, because Weavile is at a range of health where if I switch in on rocks, a leftovers Jolteon can take me out with Thunderbolt. So I need to get rid of the Thunderbolt. I need to get rid of the Stealth Rocks in order to be able to survive a hit from Jolteon and take it out with a knockoff. So right here, he switches out to Jolteon. As I just go for the Wish. I pass the Wish up because he was either going to sub, he was either going to pass to Jolteon, he was either going to switch up to Jolteon, and this allows me to go out to my Mew. And as I said, getting rocks off the field is really important for me at this stage in the game. As he just goes for the sub, and I want to break this sub. I don't want him passing it to, potentially passing it to Bishop. As I stay in here at Aurasphere, and now recognizing the situation I'm in, recognizing the importance of getting Stealth Rocks off the field, I do opt to to defog this turn, as he makes a great play and Baton passes. He actually raw switches, out to Bishop. I don't know if he's predicting my defog, or if he was sacking Bishop off there to the Aurasphere, or maybe he predicted me to roost there and wanted to switch into Bishop, and then maybe double into Jolteon on my switch out to Alomomola. Either way, I stand in defog there, so he gets the +2 boost, and Bishop is looking scary. I know it's Scarf. I can predict a Scarf at this point, and he's at a +2 with an Iron Head. However, Iron Head is going to do nothing to my Alomomola, as I can just comfortably stay in here and Wake Up Slap, because I am carrying the Wake Up Slap on my Alomomola. However, if I stay in here and go for a Wake Up Slap or a knockoff or anything of that nature, Jolteon will not die. Jolteon will not die at the range of health it's at. He can stay in and T-Bolt, or he can sub up on me. I need to switch out to my Weavile here. I need to make the play. His play is really to switch out, as he's not going to stay in with his Bishop. Scarf Bishop can still do work to, can still take out both Weavile and my Mega Pinsir with a Scarf Stone Edge. So I predict him to switch out to Jolteon here, and I make the switch out to my Weavile. And this puts me in a fantastic position, because right here I can just fire off a knockoff, as Jolteon cannot take me out with the T-Bolt. He's revealed his hidden power to be super effective on my Stunfisk, so that's either water, grass, or ice, and stun. And as you can see at this point, Weavile can live a T-Bolt. So I just knock off here. He chooses to switch out to his Bishop, which is really great for me, revealing he is the choice Scarf set. And right here I can just low kick to take out the Bishop. If he does want to Sucker Punch, it doesn't really matter. It wouldn't have taken me out at that range of health. And he just chooses to come into his Jolteon. Now I Ice Shot here because I know I will die to a T-Bolt from that range, as my Weavile goes down. But that's fine, I can bring in Mega Pinsir here and just proceed to take him out with a quick attack. And Mega Pinsir's looking nice. I could have stayed in here and risked him not being Cobra Berry with the Scolipede, but wanting to preserve differential, I go out to my Alomomola here, as he just protects. Now, the protect play was interesting. This confirms that he was most likely adamant Scolipede, because if he was Jolly, he would have outsped my Mega Pinsir. you know, he would have outsped a Jolly Mega Pinsir, and he could have just proceeded to take the quick attack or the return with the Cobra Berry. He could proceed to take the quick attack and just kill me with a Rock Slide there. So the protect on that play kind of, you know, implies he's adamant, and that makes sense because he does need the power up adamant considering he's not Life Orb. So he just protects that turn, and I just switch out to my Alamomola, and I just go for the knockoff here as he Swords Dances up. And this is nice, I get the crit, it doesn't matter, as he reveals the Cobra Berry. So I was right on that part. That was a really nice bring on Rizz's part, because Cobra Berry Scolipede is pretty bulky versus a quick attack Mega Pinsir. So there you guys have my week 1 match. I hope you enjoyed. I really enjoyed that match. It was a really exciting way to start off the season. If you guys are hyped and if you guys enjoyed, please drop a like. It does help me out, and you know, it lets me know if you guys are interested in this Draft League content that I upload. And I definitely recommend you guys go and check out Riz. Check out the NPL. I'll be leaving their link in the description too. Really cool bunch of guys with, you know, so much competitive knowledge. All these players, I'm really looking forward to playing the rest of them. And I hope you guys are psyched for the matches to come. Next week, I believe we are facing up against Pomman, who is the coach of the Brisbane Breloom, and he has a really strong team. He's got a nice balanced team built around Mega Altaria, and he's packing a lot of threats on that side. So the team builder for that will be coming up most likely midway through next week. And if you guys are excited for that, you know, let me know. I'm really looking forward to playing Pom, because he's a pretty great battler from what I've heard. He's a moderator on the Uber room in Showdown, so he really knows what he's doing in the format. He was in the NPL last season, so that will be something to look forward to. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, as I said, I'm really excited about the season, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.